Thank you for your interest in food loss and waste and producers. Food loss and waste occurs for many reasons from farm to fork, with some types of reasons, such as spoilage, occurring at every stage of that food supply chain. The term food loss typically refers to food that goes uneaten at the farm or retail level up until the retail gate, whereas the term food waste is typically referring to food that goes uneaten at retail stores, fast food and other food service outlets such as restaurants, as well as in consumers' home. At the farm and production level, for example, food loss can occur during drying, milling, transporting, or processing the food. In retail stores, there can be equipment malfunction or an overculling of blemished produce. Consumers, meanwhile, can waste food when they buy or cook more than they need and throw out the extras. Food producers can consider the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's food recovery hierarchy when making business decisions. This hierarchy shows the most effective ways to address food loss and waste, with the higher tiers the most preferred. The best option is to not create food loss and waste in the first place, and that's called source reduction. If you do have excess wholesome food, the next best option is to donate it or to your extra food to food banks, soup kitchens, and shelters. Or if you have wholesome food, another option would be to divert those food scraps to animal food. And then there's industrial uses. Industrial uses provide waste oils for rendering and fuel conversion and food scraps for digestion to recover energy, for example. The next tier or preference would be to compost food scraps to create a valuable soil amendment that can help your gardens grow. The worst case scenario is to landfill it or incinerate it without energy generation, because that would mean that all those embedded inputs to create that food, such as arable land, fresh water, and other inputs, all go to waste as well. There is several types of information for businesses interested in donating food that may be helpful. For example, there are donation laws in place that are designed to make such donations easier. Also, there are tax benefits to encourage donations of fit and wholesome food to qualified nonprofits. There also is liability protection for donating food under the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Food Donation Act of 1996. In essence, this act removes liability for persons and gleaners who make good faith donations to qualified nonprofits that feed the hungry. And here the term person includes farmers and producers. The USDA has several materials or resources available to help you understand this liability protection. Date labeling is also an issue because it can cause consumer confusion about the different date labels, such as use by, best by, sell by, and so forth. You can reduce this consumer confusion if you use the best if used by date, which more directly conveys that it's a quality label and not a product safety. Except for infant formula, dates are not an indicator of the product safety, and they're not required by law. It's really, those labels really are meant to help consumers and retailers decide when food is of best quality. There's also a strong business case for reducing food loss and waste. The World Resources Institute conducted a study of over 1,200 business sites across 17 countries and more than 700 companies, and found that for each dollar invested on food loss and waste reduction by a business, there was a $14 return. That's the median. There are several examples of activities businesses can take to reduce food loss and waste. As I mentioned before, you can donate excess wholesome food. You can also adjust and expand formulations to include food processing byproducts into new and valuable products for people, and potentially creating new markets. You can also use wholesome byproducts into high-value animal feed ingredients. For example, you can recycle feedstuffs such as wheat midds left over from flour milling into animal feed. You can also invest in specialized equipment for more efficient processing and cold chain equipment to extend the shelf life of perishable foods. You can also improve inventory management and supply planning. And then there's always composting the remaining food scraps to make a valuable soil amendment. Some of the key takeaways are that food loss and waste is complex, and it's really going to take many different solutions from farm to table for us as a nation, the United States, to reach our national goal of reducing food loss and waste in half by 2030. These solutions to reach that goal will also likely include public-private partnerships, consumer education campaigns, as well as new innovations to reduce food loss and waste. But because food loss and waste occurs at every part of the food supply chain, everyone has a role to play in reducing food loss and waste. Uneaten food also has value. It's important to recognize that preventing food waste can help people and businesses save money. Here are 3 websites by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration about reducing food loss and waste. Thank you for your attention.